Hi, my name is John Trimble, and my partner's name is Joshua Wickert. We are debating the topic of physician assisted suicide, and particularly me being on the side that is against it completely. Joshua was taking the side of supporting it with certain parameters in place. Okay, diving in. Um, there seems to be several things that have cascaded in other countries, starting with very rigid policies on physician-assisted suicide, actually starting with no laws, then going to physician-assisted suicide, then going to basically doing whatever they want without any repercussions, and finally going to children. They call this the slippery slope. um, it's kind of hard to draw a line. So this theory of the slippery slope is that we will begin slowly like this, and have really rigid standards, but then a circumstance, could be something very reasonable, comes in, and then from there, it continues to grow and grow and grow, until it comes to a point to where, who is not okay to kill. So that is why I'm not in support of this, is because now in these countries such as the Netherlands, they are in support of killing children, the age of 12, at this point in time, if the child so wishes. So this seems to be something that I would not want to come to the United States. Um, let's see here. And that's not stopping there. Moving forward, in 2011, there was a report on this station, the Radio Netherlands, and it said that the Dutch Physicians Association, the KNMG, said that not only would unbearable and lasting suffering be criteria, but also they would have amendments adding new things to physician-assisted suicides. They published a new set of these guidelines, and it said a combination of social factors and diseases and ailments that are not terminal would qualify them as unbearable and lasting suffering under this Euthanasia Act. So even though it's not doesn't seem very necessarily unbearable and lasting suffering at all, they are manipulating it where these diseases can be added in there, and patients could still choose to be killed on their own terms, very freely. These social factors include decline in other areas of life, such as financial resources, social network, and social skills. So, a person with non life threatening health problems, but who is poor or lonely, can request to be euthanized, and this is legal now in the Netherlands. So another topic of physician-assisted suicide is, can I trust my doctor? There seems to be trust between patients and doctors is becoming more and more. It's becoming more and more gray in these countries that have physician-assisted suicide, because at this time, they're becoming less and less trustworthy of whether their doctors care to treat them thoroughly, or are they just in the back of their minds always having the thought of killing the patient in the back of their heads. If the doctors were permitted to engage in practices that harm their patients, then patients would never know if their doctors were truly acting in their best interests. That was stated by this Austriaco. Could doctors maintain consistency on both sides of the fence? Could they treat aggressively if a patient desired to be treated and cured? And could they also assist in suicide at the same time? Um, I stated this because two patients a doctor's seeing could have two conflicting views of what is going on, um, one wanting to die, one wanting not to die, and the doctor would have to avidly and compassionately treat both in opposite directions. And I find that this would be very hard for anyone to do. Um, hypocritic or hypocritic or Hippocratic or hypocritic, and it's actually the oath of Hippocrates, is how that's stated. This has guided physicians for 2,400 years, and this oath, I'm just going to read it verbatim. It says, I will apply dietetic measures for the benefit of the sick according to my ability and judgment. I will keep them from harm and injustice. I will neither give a deadly drug to anyone who asks for it, nor will I make a suggestion to this effect. Similarly, I will not give to a woman an abortive remedy. So, with this theory guiding a physician's practice for many years, the implementation of the physician-assisted suicide contradicts what this oath stands for. It's no wonder that there's a growing disconnect between patients and doctors in countries who practice this, because they don't know what side of the fence they stand on. Do they want them to have dietetic measures for benefit of the sick, and are they going to keep them from harm and injustice, or is their main focus, if the patient is so far gone, should we just kill them and get it over with? So that's the dilemma there. Lack of trust is not just something that may or may not happen if euthanasia is legalized. It is happening in countries that have legalized euthanasia. Ostrico points out that many Dutch patients, before they will check themselves into hospitals, insist on writing contracts assuring that they will not be killed without their explicit consent. These patients are going into these facilities, and they're having their doctors physically sign paperwork saying that if they're knocked out under anesthesia, or if they're going under for any type of procedure with conscious sedation, anything like that, and something goes wrong, that the doctors will not take it into their own hands to go ahead and assist them in dying, because in the Netherlands, they quit prosecuting physician-assisted suicides many years ago, and since then, not only have they been doing it to patients asking for it, but they have been taking it into their own hands to do it themselves. And once again, this has not made it to the United States of America, but we have just implemented certain laws within the past few years, and different laws have been changing and evolving already. So this is also something that I would not want to see happening in the United States. Okay, so one of the biggest perpetuators of physician-assisted suicide is the patient in agonizing pain. However, that's kind of moved on to the back burner, as I had kind of noted before with different categories they're adding to the list of what you can be killed for with this is physician-assisted suicide. And some of these categories include less able to engage in activities making life enjoyable, loss of dignity, concern for future pain that may be unbearable, so not even unbearable pain that is happening, but just the anticipation of pain you can potentially commit suicide for, and also financial concerns as well as added to that list. And that seems very bizarre to me, that you could end your life over those things and rightfully do it. Palliative care and hospice have come a long way. There's many forms of analgesic therapy that can render pain to a very low amount, much less than used to. You know, we used to have this mindset of People would just go out to pasture, or you hear the old Indian walking out in the woods and passing away, and they're just kind of subject to their own amounts of pain and anguish that happen there. However, these days with I mean, you have fentanyl patches, you have implantable morphine pumps and implantable Duramorph pumps and things like that that aid in the passing so much better. Hospice has come a long way where they can keep these patients at a very reduced amount of pain during the death process. And I do see this on a daily basis. I work as an RN in the hospital, and uh, it is very advanced compared to years before. So to conclude, the three main points that I spoke upon was the slippery slope. Where's the beginning and where is the end? There's a very gray line of how physician-assisted suicide could progress in the future, and it, I don't want to see children having the choice to end their own lives in the United States of America, nor do I want to see physicians being able to take assisting others to die into their own hands. And I would like to see the physician to patient trust stay good and not be that confusion as to whether the physician is leaning towards helping them die whenever they're still wanting to actively be treated. Also, as I stated just recently, I think that the pain management has come a long way. I think that patients can still die with dignity, and that they can be assisted to die naturally without having to just be simply um, put to death immediately. I think that they can have a dignified death with pain management and comfort through palliative care services and hospice, and that physician assisted suicide is not a necessity at this time.